from people waiting online. We can go live. Are we live? Okay. Can you check if you're on YouTube? Okay, so welcome everybody. We're happy that you spend your Saturday evening here attending an astronomy talk than doing something else. We're very happy to have Dr. Surendra Pal and Dr. Jayaraman here from ISRO with us, and it's a very special kind of talk. It's not a usual talk about stars and galaxies and so on. It's a talk about India's first satellite, and it was a momentous occasion at the time. I don't know if anybody else here is old enough to remember that. And we're very lucky to have two people who are actually involved in the making of the satellite when they were very young engineers. It was launched on 19th April 1975, and of course, we celebrated the 50th anniversary recently. As astronomers, there's a special affection to Aryabhata because as the first satellite itself, it had an X-ray instrument to study the universe. But what many people do not know is that it also, for the first time, transmitted an ECG signal from Shah to Bangalore, and I think that heralded the entire ISRO's tradition of using space for the benefit of humankind. And it was developed over a period of where people who apparently had no experience building satellites, to people fresh out of college. So it's a enormous achievement and something we should learn more about. So to do that, we have Professor Surendra Pal here. He's an alumnus of BITS, Pilani, and of IISc. He is currently the outstanding scientist and deputy director of digital and communication area, and also the program director of satellite navigation program at ISRO Satellite Center. He joined ISRO in 1971, so just 4 years before Aryabhata was launched. And after a brief tenure at TIFR, he's responsible for starting the antenna and microwave activities in ISRO Satellite Center. And so that's why we're very happy to have him here because one of the pioneers in that age. He's also been responsible for development and fabrication of all spacecraft-related telecommunication systems for India satellites, starting with Aryabhata to the present-day IRS and INSAT series of spacecrafts. He's been a consultant to Inmarsat in the UK, for the International Telecommunication Union for defining regional African satellite communication systems, as well as the Nanyang Technological University in Singapore on XSAT. He was also the chair of the Information Infrastructure Working Group of the Ministry of Information Technology. He's currently spearheading the Indian Satellite-Based Wide Area Augmentation System, GAGAN, and also GAGAN, GPS-aided Geo-Augmentation Navigation System, and the Indian satellite navigation activities for civil aviation applications. He's also on the United Nations panel of experts for the Global Navigation Satellite System, GNSS. I went through entire list to tell you that we have a very distinguished person who's been involved in this area from the very beginning of its inception in India and is still involved in it. That's why it's fantastic we have him here. Accompanying him is Dr. V. Jayaraman, who's also been a part of the Aryabhata project since the beginning. So at the end of the talk, I'll request him also to say a few words for a few minutes about his personal reminiscences. I'll tell you a little bit about Dr. Jayaraman at that time. So we're ready to start. So Dr. Surendra Pal.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks, Dr. Neeraj, for inviting me. I'm going to tell you a story. I don't know how many of you have heard from your grandfather, grandmother, but once upon a time there used to be a king. Okay? So I'm telling all the same thing. We made Aryabhata once upon a time when Bangalore was a village. I could drive on the Java motorcycle. I saw the Java, showroom on the way. I had a Java motorcycle from Indian Institute of Science to Penia in 8 minutes. Now, in 8 minutes, you cannot come out of ISC. So we'll come from there. I'm going to talk, tell you the story. let me see how, when good I am in telling the stories. I've given a lot of lectures on communication, etc., communication, navigation, but never told the story. See, how we started Aryabhat. Okay, we were fresh from college. Here is my colleague, Dr. Jayaraman. Pakka fresh from college. We did not know anything. Uh, I came from Trivandrum. He came from Ahmedabad. I was in Trivandrum, recruited in Trivandrum in SSTG, and he was in PRL. In Trivandrum, we had a small bank in SSTG, SBI branch. So one of our friend who was working in the satellite, we were asked to work on satellite. The satellite was Rohini satellite, which was supposed to be 40 kg satellite. Aryabhata came later on. So he was asking, "Arey yaar, tell me, whether the satellite has got a single T or double T in the spelling." We come from that era. I am not ashamed of it because we none of us knew in satellite. Now, in school, satellites are taught, orbits are taught. My grandson is knowing more than me what I knew in his age, or maybe later on also. So we came from that era. Okay, and when the Aryabhat was launched, so before the launch, I was a communication engineer. I established a small ground station, and you know, so the communication link should be there. So Professor Yuval Rao, who was the project director, he was quite nervous, like anything. He was a project director. So he asked me, Paul, will your antenna radiate? So I told him, sir, I have never seen antenna radiating. Because antennas at that time what were the antennas on the, persons who had uh, radios, and they used to pick a long wire. Okay, that used to be the antenna. Okay, so and TVs were only in Madras and Delhi, Bombay. So Yagi antennas were there. That's another antenna. Otherwise, the antenna itself was not known. So, so knowing about satellite, etc., everything was a problem. So let us talk about it. See, we are in an era where we are quite proud of our heritage. So at least the Indians thought about space. Okay. So you can see Lord Anjaneya, you can see the kite, you can see Ravan, you can see Pushpak Viman. They were all in space. Whenever we do puja, we say what they say, Antriksh Deva Bhava. Correct? So Vedic period, Astras were there. Ramayana and Mahabharat, Astras and Shastras both were there in that time. Okay. And they were all going through the space. So, and about navigation, see, recently all of you have heard that all the missiles used our Indian navigation system, Navik. I only read in the newspapers. I don't know whether it's used or not, so there's no official confirmation. But the person who knew about navigation above the earth, okay, he was a 4th century person, Kalidas, in his famous work, Meghdut. So he used all the imaginations, how to navigate above the earth. So, uh, so let's say now, all devas, asuras, and gandharvas could travel through space. Lord Parashuram did travel with the willpower. Okay, okay. And Tamil said Bhonar, because we are near Tamil Nadu. I think you may be knowing. Bhonar supposed to have designed Viman which travels using willpower. Astras were used in Ramayana and Mahabharata. And here comes the Tipu Sultan, from Karnataka, who was the first person to use rockets in the war, and which was used against Napoleon by Britishers. The same technology was used by Napoleon.
Okay, so forward slides, you can use that.
Okay. So now you see where the space era started, our present space era. 17th December 1993, Wright brothers flew first aeroplane. Space means anything. First is we when we define the space, we define above 100 kilometers what is called Kármán light. Each one of you know about because of HEM and so many persons, astronauts have gone, so you know about that. But actually, going above the Earth was by Wright brothers. Then Dr. Goddard flew a first rocket. And when he was planning it, New York Times wrote an article that Dr. Goddard does not know the basic principles of physics, that if there is no air, how will the rocket go up? In 1878, Slogowski published his monumental work. He said the exploration of space by reaction-propelled devices, they are nothing but rockets, which was proved by Goddard later on in 1903. And in the World War II saw the development of V2 rocket, which was the forerunner for Saturn rocket. Okay. And I mean, von Braun was the person who developed the Saturn rocket. So we go beginning of modern space era. See, Sputnik first was launched on 4th October 1957. And you know, American pride was hurt two times. First time when Sputnik went into the orbit. Second time when World Trade Center was attacked. So these two places, so you should remember it. The first man in space was Major Yuri Gagarin, 1961. Within 4 years, they put a man in the space. Then 1969, Neil Armstrong went. So 12 years after the first Sputnik, persons were on the moon. Then humanity owes its debt to gratitude to earlier pioneers like Slowski, Goddard, Herman, Ober, Sergei Korolev, and many more. Sergei Korolev was a Russian rocket scientist. Now, see, what is the Indian scenario? We were just now talking while coming back. See, what we were doing before independence, the maximum, research was going on in ionosphere. Just after independence, cosmic ray, X-ray, these were the things in which space was involved in it. So India, mostly scientists were working on the study of ionosphere, cosmic rays, X-rays, etc. And either they established a laboratory at a high place, okay, like Kodaikanal, Ooty, and something was there in Gulmarg also by PRL and TIFR. In 1962, International Committee for Space COSPAR was there. They thought that near the magnetic equator there should be a launching. So the more ionospheric and atmospheric studies can be done. So Thumba was chosen. Thumba magnetic equator passes near the Trivandrum, so near Thumba. The INCOSPAR was established. Indian Committee for Space Uses was established under DAE and Dr. Sarabhai was the chairman, and he convinced the church. In Thumba there is a church. You must have read the story. So by the magnetic equator, near magnetic equator, the launch site should be there in that. It's called Thumba Equatorial Rocket Launch. So there is a church. That whole village and land, it's a hundreds of acres of land. So Professor Sarvai convinced the bishop, and bishop said, "You come to in the church." He talked to all the villagers. Of course, he talked in English, and it was translated by somebody. So he convinced them that a lot of research will go on, wonderful things will happen there, and so they gave willingly. They gave it their place. So church is become a museum now. If you get a chance to go to Bangalore, the Trivandrum, please see the church. First Nike Apache rocket was launched on 21st November 1963 from there. Trust was dedicated to UN on 2nd February 1968 by PM Mrs. Gandhi. And when I joined there in Trivandrum, on every Wednesday there will be a rocket launch. Okay. So we used to go there, and many persons will go there because only two places you can see the rocket launch. One was in Thumba, another was in Cape Kennedy. So we could not go to Cape Kennedy. Now, of course, many of you must have gone or can go, That time it was impossible to go. So SSTC, Space Science and Technology Center, was established in 1968. Because I'm telling you the story only. And it was a hill, valley hills. I don't know somebody is going to Trivandrum or not. And there used to be a lot of coconut trees. Okay. And one of our colleague was there from Trivandrum only. So he was telling that a lot of monkeys were there, ghosts were there. So we asked him, what happened to the monkeys and what happened to ghosts? He says, monkeys became engineers and ghosts became divisional heads. So Professor Sarabhai wanted to start the launcher development, satellite and society applications for societal applications. All three things parallel. See, the success of ISRO lies in his thinking that things should go parallelly. It should not be in a serial way. Okay. Then SLV, satellite launch vehicle, and for that, it was designed on a Scout rocket, and a 40 kg satellite was to be there in 400-kilometer orbit. So when we joined, I was asked to work on the antenna system for Rohini satellite and communication of that one. And mind it, when we talk to, I never studied antenna. Nowadays, nowadays also engineers don't study antennas and electromagnetics. Many colleges are teaching mathematics also. That's what I was shocked to learn that mathematics and electromagnetics is not being taught. So Professor Rao asked me to consult some experts in PRL. Somebody said put Yagi antenna, somebody said put horn antenna, somebody said something else. We had to find out our own way. Professor Rao said you have to find out your own way. And that was the key stone of all the developments in space technology, because Professor Rao was a good leader. He said, you make your own designs, prove it. And quality assurance person, what they want to prove it, it works, it works. And he never allowed anybody else to dictate to the engineer. Otherwise, a person who coming from fresh from the college, how can he make a satellite? Dr. Sarabhai was convinced of the role of space activities, simulating the growth of technology and industry in advanced fields such as electronics, communications, cybernetics, and material engineering. Unfortunately, material engineering we have not picked up yet in the country, while the rest of the things we are quite advanced. See, now birth of Indian scientific satellite project, the Aryabhata, which I am going to talk in. First, it was thought to build a satellite of 100 kg mass. Okay, and that was supposed to go in a Scout. The Scout was to be manufactured under license. Then three experiments were thought for X-ray astronomy by Professor U.R. Rao and Dr. Cheraman worked with Professor U.R. Rao. Gamma experiment by Professor Daniel, Professor Damle of TIFR. Astronomy experiment by Professor Satyaprakash and Professor Subraya of PRL. Professor Subraya was from MSU. Now, in April 1971, PM received a message from our ambassador, Mr. D.P. Dhar. Okay, he was that Soviets are interested in helping us to put a satellite in the orbit. And when Dr. Sarabhai agreed, he wanted to grab the opportunity, and he arranged a meeting along with Professor Yuara with the ambassador Pegov. Okay, and what the ambassador, Russian ambassador, or not Russian actually, Soviet ambassador, now it's Russia. At the time it was Soviet. So Soviet ambassador asked, what was the weight of the Chinese satellite, first satellite? He said it was 180 kg or 190 kg. He said, your satellite should be more than that. So a conceptual design was made immediately, no computers, no library, etc. And if you talk, library was getting made in, made in the sense we were getting the books, etc. in BSSC or BSSC later on SSTC. What we had was old discarded reports of NASA and some books. And there was one journal was there, Bell Technical Laboratories Journal of 1968, early bird satellite was there. And graph. These two were the big reports. So we satellite system persons used to take it a night. You give me like that way. We were trying to find out what is this animal called satellite. How does it look like that? That was the thing. So a conceptual design was made of 360 kg. Soviets wanted when the discussion took place in Russia uh, or Soviet, Moscow. Soviets wanted you give three experiments you put in our satellite, but Professor Rao convinced them that if we want to make a satellite, then only we'll put the experiment later on, because we want to have the technology, develop technology, we train the persons. So Soviets agreed to launch Indian satellite from their rocket free of cost. The interesting thing is that the satellite weighed 358 kg. I remember that one of our colleagues, Professor Patki, was asking them that, if we increase the weight or decrease the weight, what will happen? What will you do with the rocket? He says, nothing. We have got a timer and we know at what time to stop it. So that is the technology Russians had. They did not have how much the fuel to put, etc. If your satellite weighs this much, they calculated when to stop. Okay. So now, unfortunately, Professor Sarabhai passed away on 30th December 1971. Professor M.G. came in and took over. In February, we had a meeting of Russians came. We had a meeting in Trivandrum, and then it was decided that yes, we'll go ahead. What Professor Sarabhai thought about it, and Professor Koftinenko was made a project director from that side. Professor Yuval was project director from his side, and then where the satellite should be built. Now, it was decided that we should not build by Professor Rao and some others. We were not the deciding factors. So let me put the caveat. So some others who thought that it's not Trivandrum is not the place because every time there will be a red flag, and Professor Rao wanted to be independent. So two places were thought, Hyderabad as well as Bangalore. Finally, it was Bangalore which was decided to that. By that time, Professor Dhawan took over as a chairman, and Bangalore we came to Pina. So we decided the HAL is there, BEL is there, CIL is there, and some of the small industries were there. One Hagde and Gole. It was industry. I don't know whether it's existing or not. They were making the electrical clocks, and for that they had a facility to make PCBs. So we used their PCB facility and BEL PCB facilities for our purpose. Now, the historic agreement of launch of satellite was signed in May 1972 by Professor Millen, academician Keltis, and Professor Dhawan took over. So, and we in Pina, industrial state, I'll show you the photographs how we started. So, on 11th September 1972, on Ganesh Chaturthi Day, we did the Bhumi Puja. Because in India, we think that Ganesh is the person, Lord, who takes care of all the things. So it was done in, you see here, the date satellite was launched 19th April 1975, less than 2.5 years of Bhumi Puja. And this we cannot achieve today. We achieved at that time, it was a marvel. Okay, so the satellite Aryabhata which was made, which we made in 360 kg, 358 kg, can be made in 2 kg now. So technology has advanced that much. But the thrill and the efforts which went at that time, it was marvelous, We did not know the satellite spelling and we made the satellite. See, you have to start from that time. These are the persons, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Professor Dhawan, Professor Yuval Rao, this physicists of Indian satellite program. Now, what was the budget? See, Professor Rao said, prepare the budget. So we all started preparing the budget. We did not know. We asked some, saw the catalog. We talked to some persons who are suppliers, etc. And all budget from Ahmedabad as well as Trivandrum was prepared of 60 lakhs. Professor Rao made it 3 crores. And he banged us. What is this? You guys don't know how to spend money. So he went to Mrs. Gandhi. She approved 3 crores. He said, are you sure 3 crores only? I mean, she was prepared to give more, and I think she gave more for many other purposes. But 3 crores was the budget. Today, if you ask 30,000 crores, Modi ji may give. But at that time, 3 crores was a huge amount. Thinking about 3 crores was a huge thing. So Mrs. Gandhi took a decision to give. Now, how did we establish it? See, some industrial sheds were allotted by Karnataka government in Pina, industrial estate. They were under construction, okay, not fully ready. And now we had a A5 for electronics lab, A6 for clean room, Grand Chakadar, shed A3, A4 for engineers. And they were only sheds, with asbestos sheets. And pigeons used to fly. Morning we'll come and clean our tables. And sometimes the droppings will be there on somebody's head also. And I had a thick growth like Sai Baba. You must know his photograph. I mean, he will recollect. Now, of course, it is not that growth. It's there. So if once it fell down, it was difficult to remove it. So that was the condition in which we were sitting there. Okay. Engineers working at Trivandrum SSB and PRL Ahmedabad were transferred. New engineers were technicians were along with the administrative staff were recruited with the special sanctions by the Department of Space and Government. Okay, equipments were bought because we did not have equipments. We could not bring the equipments from Ahmedabad or from Trivandrum. Yeah, that was the condition. There was a I mean, an assurance was given by government that after the Aryabhat launch, I mean, after the satellite launch, we will go back to Trivandrum, which did not happen. We did not take this. So, a local industry like Bell, HL, Agrigold, Nanel, CIL, etc., came forward in HAP. They helped us in fabrication. 1 meter diameter thermal chamber was designed by BAR and ECIL, and dynamic balancing, you have to balance it when it goes on rocket. So that was designed in our satellite project, Indian Scientific Satellite Project, and NAF. These are the sheds in which we started it. Industrial under construction for Aryabhat project. So in this condition we did, and we were talking on the way, myself just, see, it used to rain heavily at the time in Bangalore, and Bangalore rains were office rains. Means it would rain at 9 o'clock in the morning and evening 5 o'clock. Now it doesn't rain that one. It is very erratic now. So we used to have the bricks, put one brick, put another brick. Now I can't do it, but a 23 years or 22 years young old man can jump, and that's how we used to go. And if it rains, we'll have something, not umbrella, some plastic sheet and do it. So this is where the satellite Aryabhat project was. This is another. Then it becomes sheds for like this. So you can see all are asbestos sheets. Now, how the name of the project started? First, we had Indo-Soviet satellite project. Then some purchase officer said you cannot buy the equipments and components from abroad. So it was changed to Indian Scientific Satellite Project. ISSP remains same thing. ISSP. In 1976, it became ISRO Satellite Center. So it was a center of ISRO. We didn't have to go back to PRL or Ahmedabad. In 1984, we shifted to the present location in the HAL airport. What was the purpose of the raw subject? Indigenous design fabrication of space-worthy hardware for long-time performance in orbit. Gaining experience in orbit complex operation satellites because we have never seen how to operate a satellite. Setting up necessary ground station and tracking network, establishing the relevant infrastructure, and training the manpower. Which manpower? Which was never trained. We were not trained. We got training on the job only. There was nobody to train us. We trained ourselves. So if you decide to do something, you can do it. You can do in a small time. If you can make a satellite and launch it in 1.5 years, starting from the sheds, with no equipments, no book, etc., you can do anything. So how did we realize subsystems were designed, fabricated, qualified? A volumetric model was made to see the accommodation of the integration. Now we make, I'll make this too big. No, you have to make a small one. You have, and it has to fit. So wooden models were made, and we have to make the system in that one only. A total volumetric model was made. So many things were done. Engineering model was made, etc. Half-scale model was tested with balloon in 1973 for link test, and we had an X-ray astronomy payload in that one. So I had a ground station made for that one, and the one anecdote is there that suddenly some sort of hurricane came there, small hurricane, and the antenna was rotating like this, and we didn't know what to do, how to track it. So a wooden model with full electrical system was fabricated, tested by hanging below an IF helicopter at Shar as well as in Bangalore. So this is the photograph where balloon went up and at 25 kilometers height it went. Okay, and we tested, it went up to almost 400 kilometers distance also. So our links were tested. We got a confidence, yes, we can do it. This is a wooden model which was made and was hung below the helicopter. And so maybe you can see here. It's me. So I'm 22 years old, young man, not now. So you can see the hair. Now what the story I'm telling is true. Now, at the time, what happened? European launcher development program was there. So that ELDO organization, European Launcher Development Organization, they scrapped the program, and all the junk was lying in Australia. So somehow Professor Sarvai came to know about it. He said, let us procure it. Because we wanted to start somewhere. Na? So those ELDO equipments were procured, and the display equipments had a Nixie tubes. Anybody has seen Nixie tube? You have not seen it. I know it. They were the anodes inside which passing the current to read. It was not LED. LED is your. We had Nixie tubes. So with Nixie tubes, it's there. So the antenna which is there was put in Sriharikota was that one. Some of the equipments came. Some of the ground station was established in Sriharikota at that time, and then of course we tried to use them. We tried to make them use, but we could not use except the antenna. Rest of the things were newly made. This is the antenna which bought from Aldo, and what you see on the top is the model. Is a fully operational model except the experiments. So it was a communication, etc. was checked, and it's a helicopter. The helicopter pilot was who became later on chief, Krishna Swami. He was at that time, I think, a wing commander. Later on, he became chief of the air staff. So what is the timeline? We did a puja on 11th September 1972. Balloon flight was done in 5th May 1973, 25 kilometers high. We did a X-ray astronomy, magnetometer, telemetry, communication link, etc. were tested. Even command link was tested. Mechanical equivalent model was tested. Okay, and it was sent to USSR for compatibility. We also had a heat shield model in Penia. Under that, we satellite we put it, see how the reflexes take place. We have not done all these things afterwards for any satellite. Then a pre-proto version was fabricated to evaluate the electrical system compatibility June, November. Complete flight model was ready in January and March 1970. March, we actually transported the model to Russia, yes, US Soviet Union, and shifted to Kapustri Yard in March 1975. The launch took place in 1975. See, September 1970 to 19th April 1975. See, short period we made a satellite, and making that satellite was a great thing. Today you can make the satellite in maybe 1 month, or you can procure the components from here. ISRO as well as Astronautical Society of India and in space has got a program for the students. We allowed them to make a satellite of 1 kg, and it is launched at a height of 1 kilometer. It has got all the parameter things except experiment which Aryabhata had. It's a 1 kg satellite. So this is Aryabhata. You see here, these are the antennas for which, and you see a bend here. Many persons ask why there is a bend. You see, we were taught, okay, and by experts at that time were available in ISC or IIT's board. The antenna will radiate if you got a monopole of lambda by 4 distance length. Okay, it is not true any longer. So, some of the students and college students are there. What you read in the book is good enough for passing the exams. So we try to when it has to come in the heat shield. You can't go infinite. So we give a band and try to make it the equivalent length of lambda by 4. So these are the technical. Weight was 358 kg, quasi spiral in shape with 26 flat spaces, equivalent diameter 1.9 meter, 1.19 meter lengthwise, height-wise. Passive thermal control system using suitable emissivity, absorbability, and our colleagues who were used to black and white paint after anodizing. Emissivity and absorbability is to be controlled, which you must have studied in schools. So we till today we call them painters only. Temperature was maintained between 0 to 40 degrees by passive control system. Nickel cadmium batteries which were supplied by Russians. Body mounted silicon solar cells. Now today we use the multi-junction solar cells, This had some 6 to 8% efficiency. Today we have got 35% efficiency. How much is the progress? Total, 46 raw power was generated. 23 watts was used in battery charging. Batteries were 11 ampere hours, which were supplied by Russians because we did not have anything in there, and we didn't want to buy also. Russians supplied this free of cost. Okay. Telemetry was 1 watt, 137.44 megahertz PCM, FM, PM. First time somebody used PM because we wanted a carrier to be there for finding out the Doppler. Okay. With Doppler tracking, we can do it. So the carrier has to be there. If you studied it, PM, if you have, there will be some carrier component will be there. 148.25 megahertz was that command. Hardwire, receivers were hardwire. Modulus was PDM, AM, AM. Nobody uses AM now. Not even radio. You get FM. Correct? We don't get it. So we use the AM at that time. Tracking Doppler tones, we put the top 32, 160, 800, 400, 4 kilohertz. So they used to be transmitted up. We did some sort of linking between the transmitter and receiver, and used to get transmitted down and finding out the time delay, okay, and finding out what the range and Doppler. With that one, we were tracking the satellite. So this is you see the top view. This is the top satellite, and this is the middle thing. This is the bottom. The gas bottles were there, and integration was being done. This is the senior engineers team which made the then president, Mr. Fakhruddin Ahmed. No, I was working on antennas. So this is what this is the flight model, top. Now we don't allow flight model to go out. Bangalore was electromagnetically clean, weather-wise clean. There was no dust environment at that time, so we could bring it out. This is a telescopic fiberglass mask because omnidirectional antenna becomes if you mount on a mechanical structure, any metallic structure, that metallic structure also becomes a part of the antenna. So this was a telescope mask which was supplied by Dr. Kalam. He was the head of FRPD. So he supplied it. There's another story which some other time we'll do. So this is another thing that if you can read it, the satellite, all what I talked about it. So what we used when the satellite payload worked only for 3 days, then we had some power payload. But the satellite communication link satellite worked for 17 years. And what we did, ECG signal was sent, received in Sriharipura. Then with data, we sent it and received there. So the data collection platform of INSAT into the ECG experiment, sending the voice, all those experiments which are to be done for communication satellite were done using the Aryabhata in VHF band with AM and PM modulation techniques. Will you do it? You will say, what is this? Because I know it, you can do QPSK, 8 PSK, 16 PSK, multi QAM, etc. So many modulation schemes you must be knowing about it. Okay. So now what I was talking to was that ELDO equipments. This was the ELDO equipments. And this is a model. There was nothing inside it. Mr. C.F. Surendra, who was the minister at that time, I don't know whether he was finance minister or agriculture minister. He came to see it. We immediately within a few months of our making. So Professor Avanshu. So this automatically those Nixie tubes were blinking. They were getting the signal from here. All these things were false, just to show to VIP. There was nothing inside. Another thing, in those sheds where Aryabhat was made, maximum number of VIPs visited. Nobel laureates, presidents, prime ministers, not one or two. Indian prime ministers visited, presidents visited, chief ministers visited, Okay, Nobel laureates visited, and the NASA administrator, Mr. Fletcher, correct? He visited first time. He said, "You cannot." He told Professor Ram, "You cannot make a satellite in this." After 1 year, he came. He said, "Oh, you made a satellite." So this is a Professor Dhawan and Professor Yuvarao. Now this is a real satellite. Okay, the boxes are there inside, and it's now this is an antenna testing. We did not have any equipment. Mind it, I told you that we did not have it. We were sharing the oscilloscope on time basis, but signal generators on time. Even we did not have money to buy power supplies. Even power supplies were shared between subsystem persons. So to do the measurements, because metallic structure becomes part of the antenna, we have put it one T8 table, another T8 table, over wooden table, and this is a satellite well. So before this mask came by, was supplied by Dr. Kalam. So we were doing the measurements like this. I mean, you only by here you can see it. So this is a more clearly. And here, one person will go make the connections. Theta phi, if you know any about electromagnetics, you have to change the orientation and do it. These are all flight models. So this is again the de-assembled mode. This is the bottom line. This is in middle there, and on the top of shell used to come. So government of India, when the launch was there, on 19th April, they took out one stem and first day cover. They had two because we were not sure whether the launch would be on 19th or 20th. So two sets of things were kept ready. One was launched, released on 19th, and 20th was destroyed. So this is an antenna which is used for balloon flight as well as for the helicopter. And this is a Yagi antenna array. Top is telecom, bottom is. And you see this black and you see triangle. This is we did not have fiberglass. So this is a bamboo. And Professor Rao told, why don't you paint it black? So in future it will be useful to show. So don't think that high technology can be done only by high technology things. It can be done by this also. So from that era, we have developed 77% efficiency reflectors. And from there, we have developed 32-meter deep space network, which is used for Chandrayaan and NASA, ESA. Everybody uses it in Bialalu. If you get a chance, you should go there. So from there, we have traveled. Why I said because I was involved in all these things. From this level to this level to this level. Then this is the same thing. I'm here, Professor Rao is here. So we use then the same antenna. What happened? Professor Rao wanted because the telecom lines were not very good, and Sriharikota was our station, and one station was Moscow based left. So Professor Rao wanted why not we have a ground station in Bangalore also. So one lavatory. This was a lavatory. This was changed to laboratory. We had a ground station. And it's same antenna which I'm talking about mounted on this one. And with hand we used to track the satellite. We knew approximate targets, designated target, we used to track it. So here you see Mr. T.N. Session, if you can recognize him, the Dr. Costa. Now from that, one table to another table, we have got the best facility in the world for antenna measurements and biggest compact antenna test facility in ISRO in the world. We come from that only, and it's almost between half a century. This is Professor Rao with the satellite model. So since it's the 50th year, we dedicated everything to him. This is Mrs. Gandhi, Professor Rao, Mrs. Gandhi visited. Morarji Desai visited, Chandrasekhar visited, Kosygin visited. This is the government of India. took out a 2 rupee note with the Aryabhata on that one. Mangalyaan was also put on the currency note. Do you know it? 2000 rupees. And same color, na? Color also same. So this is a engineering model was tested by Hamilton helicopter. And this is one Yagi antenna which was rotated by manually only. So how name was done? When a satellite was ready, it was sent. So 3 names were sent to Mrs. Gandhi: Jawahar, Maitri, and Aryabhat. She selected naturally Aryabhat. That's why Aryabhat came.
So what
And-
it was Maitri then?
Maitri means Mitrata.
Oh, Maitri, okay, Maitri. Aryabhata, who is Jawahar?
Jawahar is a pearl, you know. Jawahar is a pearl. Any pearl is called Jawahar. Na?
Jawahar.
Diamond, everything. And Jawahar was our first prime minister,
Prime Minister.
who was responsible for initiating the scientific temper in the country. I'm not talking on behalf, I'm not a politician, but
Yeah.
he was the person who started scientific temper in the. So she chose Aryabhat as the name. And but the interesting thing is there that some secrets were maintained at that time. The telephonic lines were there, so how to talk? It was decided that when the satellite is mated with the rocket, then we'll say, Arya mated with Bhatta. Okay, some sort of secret things were maintained. And we only at the launch pad, we knew that satellite is named as Aryabhat. So this is a great mathematician, Aryabhat, astronomer, mathematician, and he is supposed to have done many things. He was the person who said that our Earth is round. And also zero is attributed to him, but I don't know whether Acharya Brahmagupta did it or he did it. There is a controversy. But he was a person, at least he gave indication that zero exists. Pi is another thing which he did. So there are anecdotes. Nobody knew anything about satellite except Professor Rao. Actually, a colleague once asked that I told you Trivandrum whether the satellite has got a single T or double T. 1968 DSTJ early bird reports, NASA grad reports, GSST reports, and some obsolete NASA reports were available from SST's library for us to read. Okay. High frequency circuits were made using tablet Packard, Motorola, and RCA application nodes. Let me tell you, the RCA made the CMOS devices, complementary metallic oxide devices, CMOS chips were, they were not chips, actually they were the devices. And they were using less power, so we used them. And Americans did not object for using it because they wanted to see whether it can exist, it can survive in the space or not. So it survived. At our cost, experiment was done, and CMOS devices became popular, RCS CMOS devices. But since I come from the Arab background, so this, SP application notes, they give the samples also at that time. Motorola used to give the samples, the application notes, RC application notes. These were the things which we used them making the initial systems. No book, no Colpit oscillator, all those things did not work. I'm telling you, the books are only for passing the exam. So CMOS were used first time in space. Americans wanted it to be used by us on an experimental basis. Aluminum alloy was imported for satellite structure. And there's another thing. For antenna purposes, we wanted some aluminum blocks. So our structure person did not have it. So we wanted to buy from Jindal, They say they will make the alloy, they give us, they will not test it. And minimum 2 tons. So the purchase officer said, how come your requirement is for 10 kg, how can you have 2 tons? How will you buy? So I went to Professor Rao. He said, you tell them in Pinia, those industrial sheds, you tell them that you want to make a fence out of aluminum things. So that's why you want to buy 2 tons of it. So I bought 2 tons and it was used by everybody. All the boxes which you saw in the satellite, they're all from that aluminum. Then, Teflon has to be used. We were told by some experts that you have to buy a irradiated Teflon. And from NASA and also American, who will buy because we did not have money. So I convinced Professor Rao that I can use the Garware Teflon. So Garware Teflon used to be available for 600 rupees. Now I think it's quite costly. It's as costly as silver. So those Garware Teflon we use in the space, and that is being used till today in all satellites. So we took the decisions. Now, another is uh, when we, at the time of a mini ground station was established with a 10 dB retransmission antenna in the Cosmodrome, Kapustria. It was approximately put towards the injection site, and when the satellite was injected, we were the first to get the signal. But it was not announcement. From Srirajpura ground station, we got the telephone call, Professor Rao got telephone call. He said, already I know it, signal is coming. So the signal was coming from there. And from that mini ground station. So we don't know, 10 dB itself was sufficient because we over designed this system. For antenna blocks, bought 2 tons of I told. Laboratory was converted to laboratory Pina for small ground station. Okay, and maximum number of VIPs visited. I was trying to count from Professor Rao's book. At least 50 VIPs visited at a time. Because they must not have visited the present satellite center. First structure model was rejected by Russians. One structure model was made by HL. So one Russian came. They're very hefty persons, not like us. So that chap put it with left hand. Niyat. So he told it cannot survive. Then he said the structure person designed it. That's another thing. So I still make a fun of Professor Patki. I'm a very good friend of him. All Russians were well built as compared to Indians. The average age of Indians was 25, 20. But kids as compared to Russians because they were all experienced persons. They were coming here only to see whether we are on the correct path. They never supplied any technology. They never gave any suggestion. They used to our document, etc. They will see. They used to see only with the correct path because they were told by the government of Soviet government that the satellite has to be successful. Well, for vegetarians, there was a problem in Kapustaya. I was a pure vegetarian. So the first translator was there. When Professor Rao down came, translator went with them. So he told us, you can ask something like that, like we want soup, boiled vegetables, So soup based miyaja, that's it. So that means we took. And one day we saw that something piece is there. The person who takes non-veg, I told him, take it. It's my religion not going to get evaporated. He said, no, take. So finally, soup without meat. So they will take out the meat pieces and bring the soup. So where was the clean room in there? There was a big shed was there. The train came totally along with the rocket. So it was mated there. And when the heat shield was put, that chap had a hammer. He was hammering the heat shield and putting it. And we were asked to put a satellite was put at one place. One rope was put that became a clean room. Here we had a clean room and birds used to fly over it. So in the end, Professor Rao got Padma Bhushan. Satellite work when experts worked only for 2 years, 2 days or 3 days, and in that some lot of results were obtained. Professor Rao got Padma Bhushan. We got a distinguished achievement of certificate from Professor Dhawan, and we used to call it Micro Bhushan. So this is a later on the same mask Apple crystal was tested. Then Professor Rao was happy to give us one air conditioned trailer. We put the equipment here and started doing it. This is in Pina, industrial estate. Now you don't find a place there. Not even a single inch. Weird field there. This is a Aryabhata. I already showed this rocket. how do I switch on the video? It's night, deep sky, space, black, everything is black.
Take 50 years to go back.
Hmm?
Take 50 years to go back.
Yeah. No, space is black. It's not blue. This is a DP there, academician Petro.
To go beyond persistence. Mr. Dana led man from one victory to another. His insatiable search for knowledge for the benefit of mankind becomes acute as he discovers newer horizons. Newer and newer fields open up. A formidable challenge demands ingenuity. And the unattainable is achieved. Man lands a feat unsurpassed by any till now. Back behind in the century's most equation-based knowledge for the benefit of man.
Also gone.
India accepts the challenge and proceeds with the work of putting a satellite into space. Professor Satish Dhawan. The Indian space program began in 1962 when Dr. Vikram Sarabhai decided to use sounding rockets from the Sumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Range to study the upper ionosphere and atmosphere. As the architect of the Indian space program, his concept of using space for India's development was to utilize this advanced technology for specific purposes which fulfill urgent needs of our country. This became possible because Dr. U.R. Rao, who Dr. Sarabhai elected as being the project director, who already had some experience in dealing with experiments in space, we assigned him the task to organize the team. We hired a few buildings at Pena, which is a village a few miles away from Bangalore, and Professor Rao and his team rapidly converted these.
No, Penia is in Bangalore. At that time, it was away from Bangalore.
In this team, about 250 young people. Less than a third of them were there associated with the space program a little earlier, but more than two-thirds came from the universities of India. And it's a matter of great satisfaction that this young group, for the first time, launching on this such advanced technology, the design, construction, testing, and launching of a satellite. They named the first satellite as Aryabhata after a famous astronomer who was born in Sutra near Patliputra around 476 AD. Aryabhata's contributions to astronomy is immense. He was the first person to say that the Earth moves from the sun. Plus, our Indian space program has in it the design and development of our own satellites and our own rockets. It's very interesting how the excitement of working on India's first satellite caught on. Everyone in these places, whether it was Bharat Electronics or the CIL or the National Aeronautical Laboratory, who helped us a great deal. Satellite structure was made by Hindustan Aeronautics, and a number of other small and big industries. And they engaged in a lot of work on the printed circuit board. Soviet Union sent up every year nearly 100 satellites. So when their offer of help came, it was really the offer of a lecturer to a beginner. Their help consisted of advising us at various phases of the project. Also, there are certain components like the solar cell, tape recorders, and chemical batteries, which in the time frame would have taken us a great deal of effort and time to build ourselves. But the major thing was also to place satellites into orbit, for which they gave us a trillion rocket. For this, of course, we are very grateful. Among scientists, there was a camaraderie, and they freely acknowledged that they also learned something from the project. Since in this satellite we had additional weight and power available, we have also included 3 scientific instruments for scientific investigation. The main power source for this entire satellite is derived through the beautiful solar cells which are mounted on the body of the satellite. There are 18,000 solar cells, 12,000 active and passive components working inside the satellite. If the connecting wires are put end to end, they will cover a distance of nearly 10 kilometers. They have to build the first environmental chamber for simulating space conditions on the Earth in order to test the various subsystems and qualify them. In order to stabilize the satellite in space, it is spun by releasing gas from 6 gas bottles, one at each time. When the gas is released from this gas bottle, it comes out through the 2 nozzles, which are diametrically opposite, and provides a spin motion to the satellite. This satellite weighs 360 kilograms and measures 1.6 meters in diameter. The probe antenna sends its data from the satellite to the ground. Similarly, the satellite can be commanded to do various operations on the satellite. The main purpose of building the satellite is to learn about the satellite technology. We have got the ability of building, fabricating, designing, and launching a space-going object into space. We have also achieved the entire methodology and culture of space technology. Zero hour ticks forward. A tense excitement prevails. And out goes Aryabhata, India's first scientific satellite. Aryabhata, this ground telemetry station, is a prime vital telemetry station which receives important satellite technological data whenever it passes over Aryabhata. The technological data like spin rate of the satellite, The temperature inside the satellite is recorded in the station and transmitted immediately to our mission control at Bangalore for the scientists to analyze the data. Confidence gained from launching Aryabhata. We have already.
No, nobody uses the recorders, you know.
USSR of launching second Indian satellite using a Soviet rocket carrier from.
This is what I was talking about. This was then Pina.
The second satellite
Handmade.
is far more sophisticated than Aryabhata. It will carry 2 television cameras and 3 microwave radiometers, the results from which will be very valuable for forestry, meteorology, snow cover, and hydrology. The second satellite will be a forerunner for all our future application programs.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Paul, for an absolutely wonderful talk. We also have, before we go to questions, we also have, one second, please. We also have his colleague, Dr. V. Jayaraman, and I would like to ask him to maybe say something for a few minutes. Because he was also, involved in Aryabhata Satellite. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in electronics and communication from Guindy, College of Engineering Guindy, which is now Anna University, I believe, in Madras. And he did his MS from IT Madras and PhD in physics from Bangalore University. And he has a diploma in management as well. So he also started his career in 1971, I think same time as Dr. Pal did, as an electronics design engineer for the X-ray astronomy payload in Aryabhata, and later held many positions in his role as system engineer for Bhaskara 1 and 2, principal system engineer for IRS-1A, director of Earth Observation System, director of ISRO Geosphere Biosphere Program, director of NRMS Regional Remote Sensing Service Center, and director of National Remote Sensing Center, Hyderabad. I'll ask you to maybe come and say a few words about your involvement in Aryabhata. Yogesh, can you fix the mic for me?
Okay. Small screen. Good evening, all of you. After listening to Surendra Pal, myself was excited. I'm sure you have been great excited because looking back 50 years back when we started, nothing was there. Nothing was there. Really speaking. I graduated from Indian Engineering College, 1971 electronics batch. And I was looking for a job. There was no job available by electronics people those days. I remember that. There was only one Philips India, somewhere in Pune, making components. CDIL India in Delhi making some transistors. And ECIL was there anyway. Bharat Electronics was there. We were waiting for some advertisements. A small advertisement in the Hindu, Indian Express, 5 centimeter by 3 centimeter length. One ad came looking for scientific assistants in PRL. I didn't know what is PRL. I didn't even know where Ahmedabad was, Chennai. Okay, there's no direct train from Chennai to no flight, no phone calls. You can't even talk with your parents. That was the condition. Whether to go or not to go was a problem for me. I reached PRL, joined PRL, was a high interview for all the scientists and engineers at that time. And I was not doing, I'm appearing for interview for ISRO. The ISRO was headquarter of ISRO was in PRL those days. 1969, August 15th, ISRO came up. I was joining in 1971. Okay. And when I went to the interview hall, I thought I'm going to attend interview for PRL. Some all scientists are there and all, not even knowing what they're doing. Okay. And then I was told you are joining ISRO. I was lucky that not having applied for ISRO, got selected for ISRO, joined Professor U.R. Rao and Kastur Rangan. They were my mentors all the time. 50 years, at that time, what happened was I also wrote UPSC exam, UPSC Electronic Public Service Commission. All of you know, I got a very good rank. I got a posting in Cuttack, Odisha, as a television engineer. My specialization in electronics was radar engineering and television engineering. So I want to go there. But then Professor Rao called me and told, you have a bright future in ISRO. I didn't know what is ISRO, what they are going to do. As I said, we didn't even know what is satellite. And he said, bright future. I wrote a letter to my father. My boss says it's good, I have a bright future here. And my father wrote me a postcard those days. What do you mean by bright? Do you know what is satellite? He asked me. My father asked me. You've not even heard satellite. Somebody telling you you're going to make a satellite, you're believing him and joining him, but you've got a class one post in Odisha waiting for you. Join there. My father was a chief accountant electricity board in Tamil Nadu. Big man. He was telling me you are making a mistake in your life. Then I again went to Professor Rao. He said, okay, you can join. Once you become class one officer, immediately, fine. But I can tell you, we are going to make satellite. You are going to see it from there. When you go to the Odisha, you see from there, we are going to launch a satellite. And I decided I'm not going to believe my father, biological father. I went to a pastor father. I went and joined Professor Givar all the time. And I was posted to X-ray astronomy group in PRL. X-ray astronomy group, of course, PRL is very strong in astronomy. You heard about it. Aeronomy, astronomy, all that they have been doing. KF are very strong in neutron, gamma, and all that. Neutrons and gamma ray experiments. So they run a lot of balloon flights, etc. So we were not out of fish in that place because the electronics was my very good subject all the time when I was reading only electronics. When I went there, I was given the job of making a front-end electronics for payload. I didn't know what is the word payload. Okay, I didn't know what is satellite, what is payload. So I was taking lunch along with these Marathi friends. They were ragging me, They said, you don't even know what is payload? You join PRL? Then I said, silently told, maybe payload means paying the scientists and loading the engineers. So they all laughed at that. Then, of course, when I came to what is payload ultimately, I found it very exciting. I had to make extra astronomy payload for the energy range 2 kilowatts, kilo electron volt to 20 kilo electron volt, and another thing for 10 electron volt to 200 electron volt also. So it almost came to be, I had to work on photo multipliers, gas proportional counters, and fantastic sort of knowledge base. I understood a lot of science part of it, and how the engineers are working with scientists there was a fantastic experience for me. And I was also introduced to anti-coherent circuits, pulse shape discrimination, pulse shape analysis, so many things I talked about. I still remember one event I tell you. I went to Professor Yuvar, he asked me, Jayaraman, you joined X-ray astronomy group. Do you know how to differentiate X-ray and gamma rays? I didn't know how to differentiate. What is gamma ray? I don't know. What is X-ray? I don't know. Asked me how to differentiate. I said, sir, I don't know, sir. I have to learn. Let's see. Yeah, I told you, I gave a clue to you. How do you differentiate? He asked me. Twice he asked me. How do you differentiate? Then I said, sir, please give me a clue. I will try to do. He said, okay, like a somebody asked a clue. I didn't ask any phone call and all that. I asked Professor Rao himself. He said, you double differentiate the signal. You suppose you take a signal, you combine cosmic ray and X-ray. You double differentiate it to cross the zero crossing area. Find out the origin to the point. Find out the time taken for crossing the origin. That will be different for cosmic ray and X-ray. So you please differentiate the signal and try to measure the distance time-wise, and that will give you what is it. So I had to make a time differentiation circuit. Then whatever I found that the electronic circuits, which is that all of you are working on electronics, then the big ground noise. It could be a lot of pickup noise will come from power supplies or maybe RF ground, power ground, etc. etc. No, when the noise is riding very high, 100 millivolts noise was coming on the line. Now, how do you find out the zero crossing and 100 millivolts noise? My signal was less than the noise. So then he said, see, have you heard about tunnel diode? He asked me. I read it in the school, college, but I not even seen it, okay? And he said, you use the tunnel diode, you can do the zero crossing. So I had to purchase a tunnel diode, very, very costly item those days. I bought one. And Professor Rao entered the laboratory and asked me, have you built the circuit? Yes, sir. Something happened, sir. I explained to you. He patted me and said, don't bother. Failure is a part of success story. To do it again, you will succeed. I tell you, in those days, Professor Rao was the only person who knew about satellites. He worked on Mariner 2. Mariner 2 was launched in 1962. The probe for Venus, okay? And then later worked on Explorer 34, 35. He has also worked on Pioneer series, Pioneer, Explorer, and Mariner as well. He worked on solar wind interaction with the Earth magnetic field. So that sort of person, we are working with him to know what is X-ray astronomy, what is gamma ray differential and all that. So that way we learned quite a lot of things during those days. For 3 years, as you put it, I came to Bangalore from Ahmedabad, 1973, beginning, I came there, okay? In 2 years, we made 6 models, not one or two, 6 models we made, including electrical equivalent engineering model, breadboard model, thermal model, structure model, finally prototype, 2 prototype models, and then finally flight models. All were made in 2 years. And you can imagine, people who are not even knowing what is satellite. People are not all, not all IIT guys, not all IIS people, all ordinary engineering colleges from India. And they all assembled there with the greatest dynamic, as I said, dynamo, I should call it. So you are all run around and taught us how to do it. And today, when we talk about 50 years of Aryabhata, we always remember those initial days, because we all, of course, we all, in our own way, grew in our ISRO, different positions occupied. But the very fundamental day, in fact, I should also tell you, my father passed away in 1990. Just before his death, he called me to his deathbed. Jayaraman did a good choice. He told me, the man who told me, he wrote me a letter, says, the word in hand is better than two in the bush. He said, word in hand is better than two in the bush. Why are you believing your boss? You just join Orissa, he told me. In 1990, he told me, you did a correct thing to join ISRO. And Professor, you are wrong. Professor Rao is a great man, he told me that. We are telling you, we had a good leader and good government at that time giving money. And he talked about 1962, you know, in Cospar. In Cospar, he was born in India. On the year 1962 was a very important year, you remember. Internationally, there was a big war. Soviet Union and the Americans were fighting. Nikita Khrushchev and John F. Kennedy, they were fighting in the, remember that,
UN,
not UN, the missiles.
missiles or
Cuba crisis.
crisis.
1962. And
Cuba
1962, October, Chinese invaded India. So that particular year, government of India approved INCOSPAR in India. And then we brought French, Americans, Russians, all the three together to do balloon flights, Saudi rockets experiments. We brought all those people because of process, such as Sarabhai as well as Jawaharlal Nehru. We were able to get all the people to do the experiments. So initial days were fantastic. 1969, August 15th, ISRO was born. We also completed almost 50 years now, 60 years now. In 60 years, what we have done now, today we talk about planetary missions, we talk about Gaganyaan, we talk about everything today. But when we, both of us here, representing 150 people who worked in Pune at that time. All of us remember those days, very, very initial days, without anything we started. And we were able to do something at that time. And that remains to be, I thought, see, all the young students here, today, CubeSats are available. Okay, people can buy and just make it and launch it immediately. People launch, he said 1 kilometer height, you can talk about satellite. Nobody will call the satellite that 1 kilometer orbit. No, it has to go around the earth. Otherwise, it's not a satellite. So still they call it satellite and launch it 1 kilometer or 100 meters and all that. The technology is available to you on, but probably you do far better than what we have done in Aryabhata days. I'm sure that you will do far better than all of us and make India much stronger, great again. Not that not our Trump will say that make India great again. It will be always great, it will be greater in the future days. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jagaraman. I'll ask people who are online on YouTube to post their questions. So we'll take them after we take some audience questions. But first, I'd like to give them a gift. You might know that we have a telescope in Hanle in Ladakh, and he just said that he wants to go to Hanle soon. So before you do that, we thought we will give you a photograph image of the image taken by our engineer Doje Amchuk of the beautiful Himalayas under the so I'm sure you'll get to see it soon because apparently he said last time he went to Leh and he wanted to go to Hanle, he was caught in the flash floods and he had to come back. But the next time I'm sure it'll be more successful. So
Thank you.
uh,
Looks like painting.
yeah, please. And I won't open it because obviously that's for you. Well, if you want to put it. So now it's time for questions, and I'm sure you have lots of it. So we'll first take a few from here, and then we'll see if anybody's asking, wants a question on YouTube. So just raise your hands, Firoza, please. So would you like to come and talk? Sure. I'm quite loud, you can take the mic.
Yeah, that was a wonderful talk. Thank you very much. I have two questions, one technical on the satellite and the other one anecdotal. So I need to know that you mentioned that AM was used, amplitude modulation, for those who don't know, was used as a mode of satellite communication back in the 70s. Now, I know that AM is prone to interference, etc., right? Whereas FM, frequency modulation, is not. So I was wondering, what was the advantage of using AM? Was it just that the electronics were more easy to come by, or was there some other reason?
See, we used the mini tracking station of NASA, and that they had the compatibility with that one. We had capability of making FM also, so that's why it was used, first thing. And our communication engineers were from, Air Force flight sergeant. So he was more comfortable, but I mean, to have compatibility with the mini tracking station
Oh.
of NASA.
I see. So it's compatible. The second question is more anecdotal. I have frequently seen photographs of the start of Indian satellite program showing a satellite, or at least equipment for a satellite, on a block card. I was wondering whether you could tell us what's the anecdote behind that.
Yeah, I'm the originator.
Oh, wonderful. That's great to know.
You see, what happened is, that's for Apple satellite. So we wanted to do a communication link test and do the impedance measurements. So it should be done in an anechoic chamber. And VHF having an anechoic chamber is very difficult. Now for persons have got. So we wanted to take it Ganesh. The total quotation was 2 crores of rupees. So I convinced Professor Yuvarov, who was the director at that time, and for that was Professor Vasugam. To convince both of them, we'll do it here. So I think I had a photograph of that one.
Yeah, if you
So what we did is we put the absorbers all around to cut off the ground reflections. And at that time there was no interference, in Bangalore. Only in the evenings there used to be TV transmission. So TV transmission we used to fall in our IF level. So we will not do anything during the TV. So it was electromagnetically free environment. We put all absorbers. We put in a non-metallic structure, that was a bullock cart, put in a nitrogen tank, pressurized nitrogen tank. It was taken outside. We did the measurements and brought it back. And the bull was only to take the photographs, not that. So this photograph was given to European magazine, and they wrote, India has got a means of manufacturing a satellite, no means of transporting. Now in Google you will find many interpretations and many things of that one, but that was the thing.
Thank you very much.
So 2 crores, forcefully we gave 150 rupees to the farmer. So 2 crores versus 150 rupees. Similarly, in IRS, we have got phased array, which tracks the satellite, ground station. So the quotation for that one was 57 crores. We made it in less than 2 crores using the GATEC facilities of DRDO. So ISRO goes in a different way to realize the same thing, which others realize in a much costlier. That's why ISRO is quite economic in its approach.
Thank you. Next question. Yeah, the person who answers.
So what really inspired you to join the Aryabhata project or ISRO?
You want a fact or you want fiction?
Both.
See, fiction is that I want to do. See, I joined TFR, a radio astronomy group. And I thought I'll do science there, because a young person when joins the TFR, he thinks Nobel Prize is next door, which nobody has got the Nobel Prize till now except Sir C.V. Raman in India. So but I was asked to, because I was an engineer, so I was asked to work on the engineering side, and there was a book on radio astronomy cross. I was reading it. One of the scientists came, he said, "No, this is not for engineers, this is for scientists." So I decided I'll leave it. And I had in my pocket a job for ISRO, so I went and joined ISRO. There I was asked to work on Rohini satellite, 40 kg satellite, which I talked about on its antenna system, which I never studied. Because my background was of quantum electronics and such things. I did MTech in that from Pilani. The courses were coming from MIT at that time. We had an MIT collaboration. So I went and talked to Dr. Sarabhai straight away, bold. I told him this is also Dr. Sarabhai said, this will be useful for you and for all the students. He said, if you study seriously a subject for 1 month, you will know what is the subject. If you study for 6 months, okay, seriously, you will become an expert. And next day, Professor Sarabhai died. Although I had many offers for abroad from in the pocket, I decided to stay in India. So this is a fact. Fiction, oh, I was fascinated by space.
Can you put your hands up and then yeah, please.
Thank you so much for taking us back 50 years. What was the altitude at which this Aryabhata was launched? And what geosynchronous, at what latitude?
It has a 50.8 degree inclination and 600 by 580.
Finally, the 620 by 572 at the orbit.
That sort of orbit,
Achieved orbit.
electrical orbit.
You're talking about 600 kilometers.
50.8 was the inclination.
What were the intended payloads and what the results?
Pardon?
Intended payloads and the results.
No, intended payloads for X-ray astronomy, aeronomy, and gamma ray. They worked only for 2 days because we had a power failure.
Tell you that.
Okay.
On day 1, we had a problem of power supply. Plus 9 volt did not reach aeronomy experiment. Unfortunately, aeronomy did not work at all. X-ray astronomy worked for 3 days. We had a data. Unfortunately, what happened? Satellite was launched. It was not spinning. Okay, the initial spin was not working properly. There was firewall failure. Firewall was supplied by Russians. That does not open at all. There was no spinning. The tumbling. Okay, the tumbling mode. X-ray astronomy payload saw some those X-rays were there. Then using the magnetometer and the sun sensors, we located the area in this space. Which area is located? We located Cygnus X. Cygnus 1, and there is supposed to be a binary star, could be even a black hole that was emitting X-rays. There is good paper of publication Nature on that basis. X-ray has got 2-3 papers based on Aryabhata. Neutron gamma works fully. Unfortunately, 42-42nd orbit power supply again failed all the 3 payloads. Unfortunately, after that we could not operate the payloads. So tumbling was going on still. Orbit 52, we spun the satellite for 20 RPM. We got all the data.
Actually, it got spun on its own.
Yeah.
Yes. Last one question.
No, I just want to follow.
Just one more. Because we want to reach far of 93 billion years, light years, the space universe. Can you go for fission-based, like uranium, fission-based?
See, there is an international treaty on those things. No?
Okay. What about launching radiations? Just like we design payloads in the form of nanorobotics that can be launched from radiation because it can reach anywhere into the.
I don't think we are nearby. We
Yeah,
believe in
that's-
the applications and applications of the space for that. I don't think we have got that much money to put that one.
We do that. Okay.
It can be done,
I'm talking
but-
about global level, not
They
India.
are already there in operation. No?
I just want to add a question to his. Like I mentioned earlier, Aryabhata also was used to transmit an ECG.
I said,
Maybe
I
you could say
told the
something about that.
ECG, data transmission, weather collection platform. It was, so many experiments were done with that one.
Yeah, please.
Even the voice was transmitted and received.
Please go
It's very nice, meeting you, sir. I came all the way from the North Vienna side to Hello. I came from north to Bangalore to until here to meet you. It's just like reading Amara Chitra Katha of a Bhishma character. I will not be asking, bombarding any technical question, but for me, you looks like a Bhishma character in Mahabharata. But it's a bit quite, I don't have my father now, I don't have mother. Like, I feel whatever you are telling, it is true. It's reading a story, maybe reading a beautiful story of a Bhishma. And thank you very much. But one more.
You can read Professor Raw's book.
Yeah.
India Rising,
Rising Power.
Rising Power. Professor
Yeah.
Raw's book.
Thank you very much for your presence here, sir.
Thank you. For her and then.
I just ask like this.
No, because it's online. People
Alright.
online need to hear it.
Sir, you said about that ECG signal. I'm not sure about that technical terms. How long did we receive the signals?
See, we had a 12 minutes orbit, So you take the ECG, transmit it to the command, and receive it through telemetry. Okay, so I mean, time taken is nothing. Because everything goes with the speed of light, the time taken is nothing. So it's almost real time. That was one experiment. Another is data collection, You have the weather data collects and what was sent to satellite received it. So this experiment was, then voice was also sent. Recorded voice is the real life. So the data collection platform was the forerunner for our INSET program. And ECG was the telemedicines, etc., was used later on by ISRO. And voice, of course, communicates satellites, voice, DV transmission, all those things are there.
Thank you, sir. It was a very nice talk, first of all, and thanks for what you have done and your colleagues have done for India.
Thank you.
My question is, what was the mindset, the attitude of us as Indians during when we were starting off? What was going through Professor Satish Dhawan's mind? And when you guys met with the Russians, with the French and Americans, what was their mindset of space exploration?
Okay, I'll tell you, as far as Indians are concerned, Indian masses and general masses, they were always supportive. They were supportive at the time also, they were supportive when we had a failure. They never criticized. So I must say, Indian masses are very supportive and quite mature. As far as Russians are concerned, they were confident that we will do it. Americans always had a superiority complex. Okay, in now also, because whenever I'm an elected member of IEEE, so whenever I go for meetings etc., I always see that attitude in that one, and more of that attitude in Indian Americans. Means persons who have gone from India and settled in America, they are more snobbish than Americans. Okay, and French, etc. French, Russians are very friendly. So no problem.
Like, how was their approach to space exploration? Like, I mean to ask that as well.
Oh, yes. You see, what happened is it was a Cold War. Okay, starting from the Second World War, First World War. So they were developing missiles, rockets, and all those things. So they were ahead of us. As compared to we started from the scratch, and we reached to this level. It's really heartening to note that we reached this level where NASA has come to us. 1.3 billion satellite NICER will be launched in July. Where L band is by NASA, S band is made by India, the satellite is made by India, and it will be launched by India. What more you want?
Yeah, can you hear the mic?
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
See, those days, you should remember, Russians and Americans, or Soviets and Americans, as you put it correctly, missiles and rockets they were doing all the time. They were not doing satellites. First, only rockets they were doing. First time Sputnik was launched on October 4th, 1957, by Russians. After that, there were only rockets and missiles. After launching the satellite, they're looking for applications. They didn't have any applications. They were launching the satellite, then looking for applications. India started exactly opposite way. So looking for application first, we made satellite next, launch vehicle later. Exactly, ours are reverse. Ours is user requirements are first. From the user requirement, you work out the parameters for the payloads and make the payloads and put the satellite payload in the satellite. Look for a launch vehicle for the satellite. So our progression was exactly opposite direction. We were able to develop a system application based. We are able to make today remote sensing, communication, navigation, everything in India is leading in the applications. So you can
A single administration has got all the things.
everything is available to you.
Another thing is, India was the first country where satellite TV was used for educational and societal purposes under SITE program. Even Americans did not use it. We were the first to use it using ATS-6 satellite.
The person there.
So it was a very inspiring lecture. I have two questions. Already people have spoken about ECG. If I'm understanding correctly, you're talking about electrocardiogram, right?
Correct.
So was there a specific reason, like is there a purpose or application why to study?
No. I mean, that's idea was to have a telemedicine
Okay,
mind.
okay.
And you take the ECG, you take out, convert it into digital signal, transmit it, and bring it out. It was not easy. So those things we had expertise on those.
Okay. And the second question is like, as you mentioned, the resources were very limited those days, whether in terms of accessibility to documentation or resources in terms of availability. Today we have internet and even a phone can do a lot more than what the Apollo launch did in terms of processing power is what we do. So do you think, did we achieve the kind of success that you had achieved back then with very limited resources? If not, what do you think is stopping us?
I would say that in totality, we have done well from then to this one. See, at that time, nothing was available, From that itself, see, motto of Professor Rao was design, prove it. And we used to have a lot of design reviews where whole project was involved. Anybody could ask any question. And it's when you do the design review and you make a presentation, it's the designer who finds out the fault, not the persons who are asking the questions.
Thank you.
And then.
A small.
Yeah, please.
So we have started science experiments from space platforms since 1971. But as of now, we have only two working payloads, which are working satellites in space, which are AstroSat and after that Aryabhata. So in between I can see there is a lot of gap. What would you say? Is there any gap?
Rohini satellites are there, it's cross.
Hmm?
Rohini satellites are there, express line.
Yeah, we had Rohini satellite. We had a couple of satellites, Rohini satellite, AstroSat, Aditya.
Rohini satellites in 1980s and stretched Rohini satellite series, cross series, 1985-86, all carried only science payloads, including IRS-P3 had a two payload, one is looking towards ground for remote sensing, another is looking towards space for X-ray astronomy. So it's always part of the planning, but today we are having a dedicated satellite like AstroSat, Aditya for science. Otherwise, ours were remote sensing, because today what happened is, remember 1970, okay, let me go back to 1947. Our population was 35 crores at that time. Our production was 55 million tons food grain, only 55 million tons. Literacy was only 18%, 82% was illiterate. At that time, we are talking about launching a satellite, 1960, 70 and all that. All government of India is looking towards taking it up only those requirements first, not science product. They are looking for application product, agriculture productivity, natural resource assets building, weather and climate, disaster risk reduction. Those are all the applications we are looking for. All our payloads are designed for that only to do. And then when we are more luxurious, payloads are taken for science. Today we are talking about Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, and all that, because we are very sufficiently done on the ground of pool. We today drinking water mission in the Indian and the continent. We use satellite data for drinking water mission. What is the development program in India? Is done using remote sensing today. It has got navigation program, totally done indigenously today. Okay. So that way we have got some self-sufficiency in all those applications. When we have more money is available, A lot of youngsters are there to take science also. Now we're launching the science for them. And transferring the technology to private people, so they can do all the other things what they're doing so far. So this is the study.
Actually, the history of development of X-ray astronomy in India is
Yeah.
a separate talk one should have,
Other talk.
especially from KF and others. That's very fascinating.
Yeah, on those days, Indian people never had a proper food, correct food, and so many.
Yeah, I tell you, we are grown, we are 57
Yes, sir.
years old today.
Yes, sir.
1966, which is one time
So
frame.
horrible.
After the Pakistan war,
Yes, sir.
people are standing in the queue, long queue. I don't know how many of you remember. I used to stand in Chennai, 1 kilometer distance for getting 1 kg rice.
Yes, sir.
Very badly placed at that time. Every ship going in the Indian Ocean was trapped here in India. You get the PL-480 scheme of Americans. Then only C. Subramaniam, M.S. Swaminathan, Professor Dakshinamurthy, etc. joined together. They wanted to have a remote sensing payload that, the specialty from PRL, do the payload in aerial platform, try to prove remote sensing for agricultural purposes, including crop pest analysis. Then we made all the satellites for agriculture. Agriculture was one of the prime important areas for India. Today we talk about 300 million tons of food grain, 350 million tons today. Population has become 3 times, 4 times today. But we are able to meet all the people's requirement today. Horticulture has become very important today in India. Resource centers, all data used for that. So what is you take 350 million tons of food grain, really see that irrigated areas, irrigated command areas gives you only 180 to 200 million tons. Remaining all are coming from unirrigated, rainfed agriculture areas, where the productivity is very, very low. How to improve the productivity? We are working on that. We are talking about precision agriculture, precision farming. That also we are doing today using satellite. We are telling you, government of India thought that we should project a lot of applications for part of it. Their satellite should start working on. So I think we have done quite reasonably well. Not that everything can be done by satellite only. Please understand that. You have to have ground equipment also, lot of things have been done on the ground. But satellite is giving you good monitoring purposes and also improve the technology on the ground itself. So together we are able to do with all the users, the user department.
We are also helping the security agencies,
Because I'm not telling today. About defense, I'm not talking about at all, because that is very well known to everybody. Okay, we are not talking about that. We talk about only natural resources, asset building, disaster risk reduction, climate change, and weather forecasting.
Weather monitoring.
All are we are satellite data use.
Yeah.
20.
That's why I said you are all a Mahabharata character. I don't want to put.
Okay, let's move on to the next question at the back. The person in the pink, please. Yeah, let's go on to the next question. Person in the pink at the back. Yes.
Good evening, sir. As you mentioned, Aryabhata was indeed really a successful mission. But comparing to, let's take the technology at that time around. Do you and your team have any form of regrets regarding the mission? Like it was really a successful mission, and with all the drawbacks sir had mentioned, you guys did the mission successfully. But do you felt any form of regret? Like if I had done this or if I had added this, it would have been much more splendid. Do you and your team had any kind of regret regarding that?
I don't think we had time to think about that. See, now you can say I could do this, but we did not have. I told you that the most advanced device available was CMOS. Okay, and today you have got say synthesizers. You can get a stability, quite stability. We used to have the TCX, so break it open, pot it, and then the thermal cycle it, adjust it. You see, those are we had no other time because nothing was available. Now everything, now you got a chip, you got synthesizer, you can get a good stability. Now atomic clocks, which we have developed in Space Application Center for Navigation, now atomic clocks are available on chip. So in India, still I feel that one is we don't have manufactured devices. Government is now trying to establish boundary. Second thing, our material science and meteorology still lacks. Otherwise, we are quite advanced.
So in the talk, I've seen like you had coordinated a lot of departments like BEL, BERC and all. So how was it like? How did you manage to coordinate lot of players like in this to make one single rocket?
Although they were all very cooperative and their management was cooperative and they're quite enthusiastic to use for space.
Now the second question is why was X-ray thing chosen? What like is there?
No, these are scientific experiments which were chosen, and there was a team of experts. Okay, I did not name them, which decided some were foreigners, some were Indians. That these many experiments were proposed and 3 experiments were chosen.
Yeah, Firoza and then.
Yeah, a quick question on the use of Aryabhata. You mentioned that it served as a communication satellite for almost 15 years, although the science payload went down. So I was wondering what kind of science, communication was it used in? I mean, what way did it benefit the country as a communication satellite?
Aryabhat?
Yes.
No, it was an only experimental basis. See, after that we had an Apple satellite.
Yeah. So if you could mention.
Apple we launched in 1981. Okay, and that was a communication satellite. We had a transponder, C-band transponder, and that Mrs. Gandhi's speech was delivered throughout the country to satellite. We gained all the experiments of 3-axis stabilized satellite. What all was needed for INSAT, all those experiments were done with Apple. Okay, Apple was a free launch on Ariane launcher development. And European launcher, Ariane, actually Ariane 4th flight it was there. And it was some sort of a adapter between, it was the heaviest satellite for that capacity. It was an adapter between Meteosat and the CAT module. CAT module was the module which was monitoring the rocket's performance. It was in between. So we had a C-band transponder. TTC was in VHF and 3-axis stabilized. All those things which we had in INSAT, we tried on that.
So besides Mrs. Gandhi's speech, was it used, for example, to establish communication between remote parts of the country, or between Indian armed forces and
whole part of the country? First communication satellite was used for the public, for radio transmission, for TV transmission, and for communication, which was made by. See, we bought 4 communication satellites from outside. Out of the 2 only worked. They got from Ford. So their, when what do you call it, the reliability was not that good. While most of our communication satellite worked.
I think the older generation I was growing up with this Doordarshan antenna on the terrace, right? So I think some of us.
You are located Yagi antenna.
Yeah.
Now you don't see the Yagi antenna.
In the terraces, but I also know that there was a Doordarshan transmission tower in the city.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so that was not satellite communication.
No, it was retransmission from satellite. It was coming, and then it was retransmitted by the tower. So satellite was used. Similarly, the radio networking was also there. Radio was also transmitted through satellite. Communication, and there was a payload in some of the earlier INSAT, weather monitoring payload was used to monitor a cyclone. In 1978, cyclone came, 54,000 persons died in Andhra Pradesh.
Yes.
Okay, and the same cyclone came somewhere in 90s, etc. When we started putting the INSAT satellite, 8 persons died, and they wanted to see how the cyclone comes, not because of cyclone.
Yeah, but that's because we had meteorological satellites and we were prepared to track the path of the satellite.
We had a MET payload on the satellites, but now we have got dedicated MET satellites also.
Yes, I check it every time before I go for observe.
The purple shirt. Oh, sorry, you want to add something first? Right?
Okay, just to add something. You should know one thing, those days were called experimental satellite system. Aryabhata, Bhaskara, as well as Apple were called experimental satellite. Today technology at that using those satellites. Then semi-operational and operational satellites came. Today we are talking about operation and transferring to commercialization. You see experimental, semi-operational, operational, commercial. That way we divided everything. So somebody asked a question about the X-ray astronomy. If you remember the Doordarshan video you saw, In that, Professor, you are all saying, the satellite Aryabhata was essentially a technology satellite. They had only 5 watts power given to payloads. So 46 watts is very low. The spinning satellite, 46 watts only power was available, only 5 watts was given to the payloads. Remaining all were used by the satellite system itself. In 5 watts, what payloads can be accommodated was decided by the scientific audit mentioned. So we have to put in 5 watts power, 3 payloads have to operate. We assume that it will operate continuously. Continuous power has to be available to them. That was the plan in that. And Aryabhata was, unfortunately, the power failure happened, so we could not use the payload part of it. Technology experiments were done. ECG experiment, data transfer, voice, with IMD or together with DCP part of it. No, we mentioned it. All of that in Aryabhata's experiments. I could continue the experiment slightly better way, bigger way. Was geostationary satellite, first satellite. Yeah. Incidentally, today, 19th June 1981, launch of Apple, exactly 44 years back. Okay? On this date,
19th June, yeah.
19th
Apple was Ariane passenger payload experiment.
experiment. The experimental satellites, operational satellites, now commercialization. So that's what we're going.
Supposing that way.
Just one question. Thank you for giving this insightful talk, sir. In the initial you mentioned that we have good expertise and institutions for making satellites, rockets, and communications now. But you implied that we are lagging in materials engineering. So can you talk more about that and what can be done to improve that?
See, I'm not the person for that one. But like, various alloys, semiconductor devices, semiconductors, bases, all those things, have to be done. We still import them.
Hello, very nice talk, and I have just 2 questions. So one is regarding our external collaborations to Russians. So you told that in the sounding rocket, already India had collaboration with NASA and USA, but we left the Western allies and then went to Russia. So what was the main thing behind that?
No. You see, for sounding rocket program was under UN. Okay, so we had a French rockets, we had a Russian rockets, Japanese rockets, and the US rockets. We had our own rockets called Rohini satellite, RS-75, RS-100, 125, 350. No, RS stands for Rohini, 75, 100 stands for diameter, millimeters. Okay, so those satellites were also used for experiments like PRL, TIFR, even outsiders also used it. So that was the purpose for that purpose. As far as the satellite Russians offered us.
Yeah, so they were more accommodating, if I understand, to help.
Well,
us.
when that was part of geopolitical thing at that time.
Okay. Yeah, so no, so I wanted to know whether
Like Apple was offered by Ariane. It was a free launch.
Yeah, so I was just trying to know your insights, like imagination, if we had collaborated with NASA or US driven allies, Western allies, then we could have progressed more in our space exploration, or it could be.
See, it is like this. If I was in US, maybe those things were possible. But I'm in India, and today also you see that the scenario has not changed much, except that Americans think that we are technically competent. But as far as other things are concerned, they don't consider to.
Okay. I have one more question that is more important for the students, I think. So I wanted to understand that I don't disrespect any colleges, anywhere engineering college, but if you see the major workforce in the ISRO, even in the back, I make many read the story. They are from not big institutes like
99.9% of the engineers in ISRO, DAE, DRDO, and CSI are Indian bred local colleges,
Yes.
not IITs.
Yes, so I wanted to know whether the migration of IITian outside, if they could have been, ISRO could have helped more, or how do you think this migration impacting our?
I don't agree with that statement.
Okay.
Then it pass the mic, or there has something to add.
This one thing I want to add you. 1971, go back in time. 1971, there was a war again. Okay, so India, Pakistan, Bangladesh war. That time, American moved that ship to 7th Fleet came to Indian.
Bay of Bengal.
Bay of Bengal, they came. almost Americans were lying against India at that time. Russians are the one who were supporting, and Indira Gandhi was, you know, that geopolitical part of it. So Russians were jumping inside, give a free launch. And Americans would not have given free launch anyway. We had to pay. Bhaskara 1 and Bhaskara 2, also we got free launch. IR-1A, Russians gave 7.5 crore for the launch itself. Can imagine very cheap rate they gave for launching. Money was very, very important for us. Geopolitical scenario was also dictating. We didn't know. We didn't have the option at all.
Yeah, next, yeah, please. In the meantime, people who are on YouTube, you can post your questions on chat. Yeah, her, then Vishwa.
Hello, sir.
We'll take everybody's questions as long as they.
Yeah, just to add it to him, I'm an aspiring astronaut, right? So because of family circumstances, I joined CSE and now I'm working in world-renowned Fortune company. I'm earning well, but from childhood, my dream have been always been to become an astronaut, right? Now that I'm trying to change the path, all the options that I see, like I try to connect with multiple space startups in India, right? There is Dhruva, there is Skyroot, there is Home Space, right? All of them, I literally find there is no one to give you real guidance, right? Everyone is like, okay, you pay me something, I'm gonna teach you something very basic. That's all it is, right? I was amazed to see that you had great mentors, right? But if I have to find someone like a mentor who could actually guide me long term, so what is the path for that, right? And then after I have been studying for 3 months, it's very less, like because I mean I have family pressure, right? And now my family is stabilized, so now I can chase my dream. Okay.
But you have to keep your questions.
Okay, sorry, yeah. So see, you said now right now my only option is okay, fine, I go to foreign, I'll complete my MS and probably get a job in NASA or ESA or something, right? But then I really want to work for my own country. But how hard it is for
Join ISRO.
yeah, exactly. How? Because all the job posts that
Lot of
come
advertisements come, you know. Lot of advertisements come from ISRO, DRDO.
Yeah.
DRDO is also equally good. Atomic energy is good. So you can join them. See, first, foremost is ISRO recruitment is very fair.
No, so that is the point. When they post a job, they say technician, and I'm from CSE background. How do I post for? I mean, how do I
What's your
apply for
background?
that? CS, computer science.
Any field you can enter, what is from software is a forte.
Yeah, software is my forte, but the job postings that I've seen most of the time.
No.
20 of facts.
You should be graduate.
Mhm.
You could be MCA, you could be graduate, you can join.
You can be.
Any graduate.
Anybody can join.
Physics graduate, chemistry graduate, mathematics graduate, computer graduate, engineering graduate.
No,
can
because,
join.
sir, at this stage, I'm ready to work 2 jobs. I'm
No,
ready to
I
work.
think he's answered the question. Let's move on. Come back to you later.
You can
Those one
join.
hand there. Yeah, please.
Computer
Thank you
science
for
is
the talk.
very important.
So I once heard that in Cape Canaveral, where there only used to be NASA launch site, now there are multiple private companies who have their own launch sites. And they accelerate innovation and they give opportunities for more engineers. And NASA can contract like work from them, so they can speed up the whole process. So in India, like who do you think are like upcoming space companies who you see they can?
No, I can't point out, but there are so many startups are there. I was told something like that 150 startups are there in space. So it's difficult to tell publicly which you can join. You can work out for
In
yourself.
space website.
But if join ISRO.
In space website might have some.
In space you can go.
In space, in space you can see their website. They also guide. But join ISRO.
Today's we see that HAL got the permission.
Yeah.
The permission to launch 500 kg rockets in space.
Yeah. See, you can join HAL also because they will be manufacturing a small satellite launch vehicle. You can join L&T. L&T and HAL is going to make PSLV. Okay. There is one when organized, I should not name it, but Anand Technology, they've got a beautiful facility for satellite integration and manufacturing. I think Astra is doing same thing. Galaxy I. There's so many things, sir. So,
Okay, next question. Yeah. Quick, please.
Yeah, like, are there any YouTube channels or podcasts that you recommend for the latest in Indian
I'm not aware of it.
There's so many of them. Yeah, the person at the back.
I have not started and I will not start.
This talk is on YouTube, so you can start with that. If you look at IA YouTube channel, we have a lot of online talks for the last many years. So I would recommend our YouTube channels first. Yeah, please.
Sir, you mentioned about teaching students on satellite building. Is there any possibility for us as a college student to get involved in learning it?
Yeah, there's in space and ASI runs courses. So you can see their website and they have run courses on satellite building, space, etc. So you can see those courses.
Thank you, sir.
Sometimes ISRO also runs.
So, yeah, other questions? Any other questions? Uh, okay, last chance. Okay, if not, then please. If not, then let's thank Dr. Pal and Dr. Jairam for an absolutely wonderful talk. I think not only did we learn about how things started at that time with all the constraints and the innovation and creativity, but also the passion at that time for young people to do something. I think as scientists and engineers, the thing you really want is to do something for the first time by yourself, right? And you rarely get a chance to do something big for the first time. I think both of you have been a part of that from the beginning. I think it's a fantastic experience. Very happy you're here to share this with us. So thanks once again. For those of you who want to know about more public events we organize, be it talks or hands-on activities and so on, please do get onto the WhatsApp channel and then you'll get to know more about what we do. So thank you again. And yeah, so yeah, we are done and you can stop. You can stop now. Thanks again to people online. And I think people want to take photos, they can now do that. Yeah, thank you. Please. Thank you. Live is off.
Just that.